Hi there and welcome to Get Indie Gaming and to our first video of the new year. Each month we pick out the top 10 most interesting indie games expected to release, and today we're counting down the top new indie games of January 2021. First up for this new year we have Sword of the Necromancer. We first covered this back in the first quarter of last year when it took to Kickstarter, raising just shy of $250,000 or around 180,000 British pounds based on current as this video airs exchange rates. It's always great to see projects we took an interest in coming out to market, and in Sword of the Necromancer we're pretty excited to get hold of this when it launches towards the end of the month on January the 28th. Sword of the Necromancer is a dungeon crawler action RPG that also comes with several roguelite elements, with it having the pretty nifty ability to revive your slain enemies into new allies and have them fight alongside you. What's more, each weapon is always different, which should spice things up a bit, all thanks to the use of a procedurally generated weapon system, which should give rise to any number of effects and attributes, some no doubt more useful than others. However, this kind of variety should help keep players on their toes. We're also looking forward to seeing how the game deals with its couch co-op option, which is something we think we'll like the most about this game, and how playing with a buddy, all within ongoing COVID restrictions here in the Netherlands, impacts the overall experience. Sword of the Necromancer feels and looks like a great way to begin our coverage in 2021, and is expected out on the PC via Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, and the Nintendo Switch. Coming up next, and at this month's number 9, Skul the Hero Slayer comes out of early access January 21st, and as this video goes up, it currently has an overwhelmingly positive Steam review score from just under 8,000 reviews. As you might be able to guess from the on-screen footage, Skul the Hero Slayer is a 2D action platformer with its roots firmly in the classic side-scrollers of the 8 and 16-bit era. That said, having spent time with this over the past couple of weeks, this gorgeous pixel art platformer certainly uses modern sensibilities within how the levels and overall gameplay is put together. As others have already noted elsewhere, this nod to the retro games of old continues within the game's difficulty, with it offering a really stern challenge which should keep players plugging away at this for some time. If you've played this in early access, the full launch sees a whole heap of additional content, with the developers already having said they plan on offering yet more over the game's lifecycle. For now though, Skul the Hero Slayer is only coming to PC, although a port onto all of the usual consoles is expected at some point later in the year. Out next, and at number 8, headed into early access on January 15th, Ancient Abyss looks full of promise. Described by the developers as a Zelda-like action game that will see players head into and explore a mysterious randomly generated maze in what looks to be a really rather charming pixel art aesthetic. There's roguelike elements too, which gets our thumbs up, as does the combat, which looks an all-round pretty decent affair. As for the time spent in early access, well, the developers are suggesting this could be around the 12-month mark, with them adding more levels, weapons, enemies and plenty more traps and puzzles before the full launch, which the team actively says they're seeking player feedback to further help shape how it all plays out. Ancient Abyss could turn into something rather special.
"100 years ago today, I was born inside a computer."
Moving on, and at this January's number 7, we have an absolute cult classic. And while first out back in 2016 on PC, Bezier back then, as we suspect it still is today, is one of the best arcade twin-stick shooters ever made, with it now coming onto the Nintendo Switch on January the 21st. It's got everything you would want from these kind of games, ranging from the neon-soaked visuals to the soundtrack to the sound effects, and of course, a gameplay that not only keeps you on the edge of your seat, but also coming back for more with one of those "oh, just one more go" kind of overall vibes to it. There's, even if we recall correctly, a pretty decent backstory to all of the events going on within the game, which for this particular genre is a worthy rarity. While this relaunch seems mostly focused on the Switch, as feels quite naturally enough, there's also a new enhanced version expected out the same day for PCs via Steam. At number 6, and something that's perhaps somewhat on the bleak side of things for this early in the new year, Olija is a curious looking 2D Metroidvania with action platforming elements. There's a demo you can play right now, which you can find via the Steam Games homepage, and like all of the games featured in this rundown, you can find a link to this down in the video description. It feels very much an overall journey, or somewhat of an end-to-end campaign, although the combat is, as the press release states, pretty razor-darn sharp. The boss fights are also plenty of fun, although overall, we didn't find this particularly difficult, although it is challenging in places from what we've played of it so far, which makes for a nice change of pace within this particular genre. Olija should be out onto PCs on January the 28th, with you able to get hold of this via Steam. Next up, and moving swiftly on to number 5, and first out in April of 2019, Heaven's Vault is getting a port onto the Nintendo Switch this coming January the 28th. Now, Heaven's Vault was one of our games of the year, with it offering up a genuinely captivating overall story that sees you searching for a missing roboticist, all within hundreds of meticulously hand-drawn frames of 2D art within 3D environments, where you're able to freely roam within the third person amongst ruined palaces, market towns, villages, and many other places besides. What Heaven's Vault does so well is pull together something that's genuinely and utterly spellbinding. Much of this comes in the form of linguistic pattern recognition, and while a little tricky at the get-go, things get easier the more you play. There's something extremely gratifying about ticking off the puzzles as you solve them, particularly when you begin to learn and recognise the symbols in the scripts you're asked to piece together. Heaven's Vault is a terrific achievement, and one we'll happily recommend to all Switch owners who like an excellent puzzler with an even better associated overall story. At number 4, and expected initially out in early access in November of last year, although it did slip into the first month of 2021. Everspace 2 is the direct sequel and follows after the events in the original Everspace game. For those who don't know, it's a single-player spaceship shooter with a strong emphasis on deep exploration, with a full-on smattering of looting, mining, and trading, all within some decently looking RPG elements. What's more, there's also what happens to be a thoughtful and compelling overall story that accompanies your quest for better gear and upgrades, which all told is looking rather excellent. There's a demo you can play today, and the developers indicated the game should come in around the 20-hour mark if following the campaign. We can expect additional content to be added over the course of the early access period, although there's no word so far from what we've seen on when the game might fully launch.
Must have clocked us last night.
Tina, I do not think they were here to arrest us for loitering.
At number 3, and taking the first spot on the podium for 2021, we have Encodya, another success from the Kickstarter crowdsource funding platform that's coming to PC via Steam and GOG. This one comes with quite the pitch line, where players can expect the sweetness and creativity of Studio Ghibli, the setting and atmosphere of Blade Runner, and the humour in-game style of Monkey Island. So what does that really mean? Well, it certainly makes for something that's so very visually appealing on the eye in what's also a point-and-click adventure. We've been playing more than perhaps our fair share of these kind of games of late, and we're really rather taken with the cinematic stylings of this, and also the idea where it's set to provide randomly generated puzzles amongst more than 100 different locations and at least 34 non-player characters to interact with. If this or any other game we're featuring in this episode looks like something you might fancy playing, or if we've missed anything that's coming out this month, feel free to let us know down in the comments. At number 2, and something we're thinking that's looking utterly charming. Down in Bermuda features a plucky explorer, all within a quirky adventure game that's full of attractive looking puzzles to solve and mysteries to uncover. Players will crack codes, collect magic orbs and use their grey matter via a combination of logic puzzles and hidden object hunting, within what seems to be a wonderfully vivid and vibrant world set within the infamous Bermuda Triangle. We've always a soft spot for these kinds of creations and hope to be able to provide a review with this as soon as we're able. Down in Bermuda comes out January 14th to PC, Apple Arcade, PlayStation, Xbox and the Nintendo Switch. At number 1, with it expected out on January the 26th, Cyber Shadow is perhaps for many one of the most wanted games of the first quarter of the year. This was another game that fell out of a 2020 launch timeframe, with its Ninja Gaiden-inspired storyline that follows Shadow, a cyborg ninja looking to rescue his fellow clanmates from a host of bad guys. Aside from looking towards all things Ninja Gaiden, we understand there are elements here of Mega Man, with it also having a few things that put us in mind of the recent The Messenger, with it having a whole host of boss fights, cinematic cutscenes, and a multi-directional paths with plenty of precision platforming. The 8-bit stylings and associated musical score have us honestly on the edge of our seats waiting for this to come onto PC and all of the consoles you may already have sitting under your TV or gaming monitor. And with Cyber Shadow bookending our first video of 2021, if you've liked this one, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, feel free to drop us a comment and let us know which of these games you'll be playing or anything else we might have missed from this rundown. Either way, many thanks for watching. We'll see you all again here soon for another indie game video.